So while they're coming up, I'm going to talk about, as the chart says, the impact of technology change on Social Security. We've been hearing about developments and major changes in the way people work and the labour markets and how they operate. And we've heard a lot about platforms and the roles that platforms play in this discussion. And I want to look particularly at the technology itself that's driving that change, part of which is often a platform, the technology itself and how that is affecting Social Security. And I want to ask the question, is the technology as it enters the world of Social Security simply a device, a tool for process improvement, for administrative efficiency, or is it changing the fundamentals of the social protection schemes themselves? So Marie, if you could give me the next chart. So I'll talk a little bit about how technology has evolved in the way it's entered the world of Social Security. And then I'm going to talk about platforms and connect a little bit with the talks earlier, and in particular ask the question, the very model of platforms that have been talked about that are affecting the world of work, are they also affecting and being introduced into the world of Social Security and the delivery of Social Security? And if that is the case, what is the implications for Social Security that we need to be aware of? Next chart, please. So, I'm sure you're all familiar with the way technology has come into the world of Social Security over the years. The first computer or computing capability deployed in Social Security was actually in 1930. So it's been a long journey, of which most of the journey has been the deployment of ICT in support of operational efficiency. Sometimes the projects work. Those of you that are from administrations will know sometimes the projects don't work, but in the main, they've delivered operational improvements and they enable the institutions, the administrations, to be able to accommodate large databases, lots of work, lots of people, lots of complexity, etc. In recent times, more and more the technology is being deployed not just at the operational efficiency level, but at the program level, looking at the way individual social risks are supported in the case of an individual, whether it's old age or whether it's the loss of work, employment, and bringing new services that have been developed using the technology that support that social risk for the individual. So it's starting to look at the efficiency of the delivery of the social protection scheme, not just the efficiency of the operational side. And then throughout the period since the start of the internet, the whole way in which Social Security administrations have communicated with their members and their citizens in the country has changed dramatically. And that has had an effect on the way in which people consume services from the point of view of Social Security also, as it has for business. In the world of business, many of the processes have been now totally automated. Examples like the Crossroads Bank in Belgium. And now, more and more, the debate is how should Social Security respond to the forces that we're discussing today, namely that the technology is also changing people's lives and the way people work, and therefore Social Security needs to respond to that also. So if I want to simplify this evolution since 1930, just to make an argument, I would say, first of all, there was a very, very long, big phase of technology coming into Social Security to improve operational efficiency. And that still goes on. There's still improvements that can be made. Then in recent times, as I mentioned a minute ago, new kinds of services associated with the social risks themselves have emerged, deployed using the technology, like things like for unemployment services, for example, active labour market programs, things like job matching, complex job matching tools, or tools to help people develop skills or whatever. capabilities that surround the core of the social insurance package was the traditional offering. But now I'm going to argue that Social Security is starting to enter a new phase, starting to deploy the platforms that we've been hearing about earlier, that I called on this chart platform facilitation. And of course, as you can see from the chart, if you just look at the very simple mathematics of it, it's trying to say that as we go through those phases, the impact on the underlying social protection programs themselves is getting greater and greater. Yeah. So platform business models, I've heard all about them, I don't need to say very much about them, but they are simply ways in which the technology is deployed to connect people with a need to providers who can meet those needs. Sometimes the providers are single organizations, or they can be multiple organizations. And the receivers have complex needs. And the providers of the platform make that connection, they facilitate that connection, and sometimes with it comes other services that makes the consumption or the meeting of that need easier, such as financial transactions or tracking outcomes or whatever. And many people, new organizations, shown on the next chart, just checking if you're listening, only teasing. Many companies have built huge businesses off the back of this simple idea of connecting providers to needs. And it's just worth reminding ourselves of the extraordinary nature of this business, some of the ones that we've heard about already today. Uber, now valued at somewhere between 60 and 70 billion US dollars, for a company with less than 7,000 employees, as we're discussing today, is a loose term in this context, but directly working for them, a very small number of people, and delivering over 1 million rides across the world every day. Facebook bought WhatsApp a couple of years ago. They bought them for 29, if my memory is right, $29 billion. There were less than 50 employees in WhatsApp when they sold them for that. That's valued at nearly $500 million per person working for the company. An extraordinary kind of force. And the question I'm going to pose is, okay, the business model that's generating this kind of extraordinary response in the commercial world, are Social Security administrations employing it in the delivery of social programs as well? And the answer is yes, I think so. And the second question that then throws up is that a trend? And could that be the future model of Social Security? Yeah. So I've picked out a few examples from different parts of the world where the Social Security Administration, or former Social Security Administration, I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute, is delivering to their members or to their citizens using platforms. So the first is quite an old example from Japan. It's for a range of old age care services, including an old age insurance program that's operated by the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, that exists on a platform where the end user, being the aged person or their family member or their caseworker, can build an end-to-end care plan for that individual, including the financial support that they need, any medical support that they need, any help at home that they need, integrate that, pay for it on this platform, and through the platform there is a combination of public providers and private providers. There are elements of the Social Security program, and there are elements of private payment on behalf of individuals. A complete kind of end-to-end platform. In Obamacare, there was the follow events in the US, and events in the US have been a little bit extraordinary recently, so they say. In the US, Obama introduced his reform to the health insurance programs of the US, and he introduced this concept of health exchanges. They are platforms. What are they to do with Social Security, you might ask? But part of that platform has two elements that are highly relevant to Social Security, and the platforms are basically a website where you can go as a user with a need, and there's lots of providers on there, and you can build your health insurance package and then purchase it and consume it. Buried within that is the old age health insurance scheme run by the Federal Social Security Administration called Medicare. That's completely built within the program, and also completely in the program is the social assistance health insurance program run by individual states called Medicaid. Again, that is completely integrated with the public and the private provision, and it's a means by which the needs are met, but not necessarily transparent to the individual consumer who's just building their health insurance offering. And people have argued, and the statistics support that those that are in receipt formally of that social assistance health insurance program have vastly extended their access to healthcare as a result of their program. So in that sense, you can say it's a kind of social assistance or social security type program. And it is a platform. In the UK has introduced something quite novel recently. It's in the process of rolling it out. It's called Universal Credit. And it's the integration of a range of former social security programs and social assistance programs. So within it, you have a number of unemployment insurance programs. You have child support. You have housing benefit. You have a basic income support program, which was the former social assistance program. And then you have some working credit, tax working credit benefits as well. The range of benefits that are now integrated into one benefit, they were formerly run by both the National Social Security Organization and local government. So in that sense, it's completely collapsed that demarcation. One of the schemes was also run by the tax authority, and now that's completely transparent to the receiver. And the novel aspect of the program is that you can continue to receive those integrated benefits when you work, and there's a tapering associated with it, such that the more you work, the greater the tapering. But the tapering is designed so that there's no sudden loss of earnings if you start to work as an unemployed person, part-time, more part-time, or in low-paid work. And in fact, in theory, you could work forever in a certain level of low-paid work and receive this particular benefit. And that's all delivered through a technology platform. You can only apply for it online, and it kind of totally, in many senses, takes out the role that the former administration plays. And also in the UK, they've, for another scheme, the UK have implemented something called personal budgets, which is for certain groups of individuals who can combine a health care support and social care support into a single package, and then use part of that package to actually determine their own, what they believe their own need is with some support, and buy their own need, purchase their own need. And one particular local authority, for example, has now launched a platform for that has public providers on it, private providers on it, all the different elements of the programs that apply, and again, transparent to the end user that can then just go onto this site, and as if they're buying something off Amazon, they can buy their care package and have it paid for by the different elements of the state or out of their own funds depending on the components of it, and book all the elements, and so it runs. Singapore have a similar one for combining their unemployment insurance and skills development. So my basic point is that there are examples of this idea of platform facilitation, bringing together all these different elements and making them transparent in a process that just connects providers with people with needs in Social Security itself. But is it Social Security? Because each of these projects, when you look at them, they have these consequences shown on this chart. They certainly drive to the individual level, because these platforms are all about individual needs. That's really the core of the platform. It's meeting a detailed individual need. They drive harder and harder as you see them evolve and get implemented towards a mean testing kind of model of social assistance or social protection. And they are increasingly have elements of what people call cognitive technology. You know, the thing that irritates you when you buy or pleases you, depending on your perspective, when you buy a new book on Amazon, next time you get the message to say, these are the next 3 books that you ought to read. The same technology is used on these Social Security sites to help you determine what your needs really are. And some of them, they collect data through the site that, you know, like the Amazon site, analyzes the outcomes associated with others that have built a particular approach using an integrated private and public, and then say, well, our recommended course of action for you based on past experiences, blah, blah, blah. They clearly merge public and private provision, and not necessarily in a way that's transparent to the end user. Perhaps that's not a problem, but I think it's something that if you implement, you need to be aware of it, that consequence is coming. They break down the distinction across different branches of social programs, social risks, against different tiers of government, and make those again transparent to the end user. And ultimately, if you were to take the logic of this argument to its conclusion, you would say, you know, why would you need a Social Security Administration at all? Why not just have a national platform? Perhaps a global platform. I'm teasing now, but you take my point. One more job. So, in conclusion, I hope I've succeeded in this short time of persuading you that the introduction of these kind of technologies into Social Security is not just about administrative improvements and simply managing the data better or managing the paperwork more effectively. It's really getting into the heart of what is meant by social protection. And you know, if there is a role for research and education in this topic, it really is to much better understand what those consequences are and what the impacts of this technology are on the underlying social protection systems themselves that we are perhaps inevitably, but certainly consistently, increasingly bringing into our world of social security. Well, thank you.